The champagne glass slipped from my fingers as my sister's hand slammed into my back. I heard her whisper in my ear, "Say hello to the sharks, Margot," before the world tilted and I was falling. The yacht's railing disappeared above me. 30 feet down, the black ocean swallowed me whole. When I surfaced, gasping, I saw 2 figures at the rail. My husband, Derek. My sister, Chloe. They were holding hands, and they were smiling. Then the engines roared, and they were gone. The cold hit me like 1,000 knives. I went under once, twice, my evening gown tangling around my legs like seaweed trying to drag me down. When I broke the surface again, coughing salt water, the yacht was already 50 yards away. The white hull glowed against the darkening sky, and I could still see them at the stern. Neither one moved to help me. Neither one threw a life preserver. They just watched as the distance grew. Then the engines roared louder, and the yacht turned. For one insane moment I thought they were coming back, that this was some horrible joke or accident, that my sister hadn't just tried to murder me. But the yacht kept turning, pointing its bow toward shore, and then it was moving away at full speed. The sound of the engines faded. The white hull became a dot on the horizon. And then it was gone completely. I was alone in the middle of the ocean. The panic hit me then, real and primal. I started screaming, but there was no one to hear. Just water in every direction, darkening as the sun slipped below the horizon. I was 15 miles from shore. I knew because Derek had mentioned it during dinner, talking about how far out we'd come for the perfect sunset view. At the time, I'd thought it was romantic. Now I understood it was calculated. My designer dress was dragging me down with every movement. The fabric had absorbed gallons of water, and each kick felt like moving through concrete. My heels had come off during the fall, thank God, but I was still weighted down. I struggled with the zipper on the back of the dress, my fingers numb and clumsy. It took 3 tries before I got it down. I wiggled out of the dress, let it sink into the darkness below, and was left in just my slip and underwear. The water was cold. Not freezing, but cold enough that I knew hypothermia was coming. I had read somewhere that you could survive maybe 3 to 6 hours in water this temperature. Maybe, if you were lucky, if you didn't panic, if you didn't give up. I forced myself to think, to push past the terror and the betrayal and focus on survival. The dinner replayed in my head as I treaded water. 3 hours ago, Chloe had arrived at my house with a bottle of expensive wine and that smile she'd been wearing a lot lately. The smile that said we were finally okay after years of being distant. Our father had died 6 months ago, and his death had forced us back into each other's lives. Dad had left me his company, Data Shield Security, a tech firm he'd built from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. He'd left Chloe nothing. Not because he didn't love her, but because she'd stolen from him years ago, embezzled $75,000 from his company to fund a failed startup. He'd never forgiven her, never trusted her again. But Chloe had been trying so hard to reconcile. She'd apologized. She'd cried. She'd told me she'd been jealous, stupid, young. She wanted to be sisters again. She wanted family. I'd believed her. God, I'd been so stupid. And Derek, my husband of 3 years. The man I'd loved since college. He'd been acting strange lately, distant, on his phone at odd hours. I'd worried he was having an affair, but every time I asked, he'd kiss my forehead and tell me I was imagining things. He'd suggested the yacht trip, said we needed time together, away from the stress of running Dad's company. I'd thought he was trying to save our marriage. Instead, he was planning to end it, permanently. The sunset cruise had been Chloe's idea, she'd said. A chance to celebrate my inheritance, to toast to Dad's memory, to heal as a family. Derek had chartered the yacht, a gorgeous 60-foot vessel with a crew of 2. But when we'd arrived at the marina, Derek had told the crew to take the evening off. He'd said he wanted to captain it himself, that it would be more intimate. Just the 3 of us. I thought it was sweet. Romantic, even. Now I saw it for what it was. No witnesses. No crew to see what happened. No one to save me. I spotted something in the distance, a shape rising from the water. A channel marker buoy, maybe 200 yards away. It was my only chance. I started swimming. Every stroke was agony. My arms felt like lead. My legs cramped. The salt water stung my eyes and throat. But I kept going because the alternative was sinking into the darkness below, and I refused to give them that satisfaction. It took forever. The buoy seemed to get farther away with each stroke, like a mirage, but I kept my head down and swam. Counted strokes. 1, 2, 3, breathe. 4, 5, 6, breathe. Don't think about what's below you. Don't think about sharks. Don't think about how deep the water is. Just swim. When my hand finally hit the cold metal of the buoy, I almost cried with relief. I pulled myself up, wrapping my arms and legs around it like a drowning person clutching driftwood, because that's what I was. Drowning. Barely alive. The buoy swayed with the current, and I clung to it as the last light faded from the sky. The stars came out, more than I'd ever seen, because there was no light pollution out here. Just me and the ocean and the vast indifferent universe. I was there for 4 hours, maybe 5. Time stopped meaning anything. I drifted in and out of consciousness, my body shutting down from the cold. My teeth chattered so hard, I thought they'd crack. My fingers went numb, then my hands, then my arms. I couldn't feel my legs at all. I thought about dying. How easy it would be to just let go. To slip into the water and let it take me. It would be peaceful. Quick. But then I'd think about Derek and Chloe. Probably back at my house by now. Probably opening another bottle of wine. Probably celebrating. Probably already planning how to spend my money. And rage would burn through the cold, just enough to keep me holding on. When dawn finally came, I barely recognized it. The sky lightened from black to gray to pale blue, and I was still alive. Barely. But alive. The fishing boat appeared around 7 in the morning. An old, beat-up vessel with nets dragging behind it. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone. I tried to wave, but I could barely lift my arms. I thought he'd pass by without seeing me. But the captain spotted me. The boat changed course, engines growling, and pulled up alongside the buoy. An older man, maybe 60, with weathered skin and suspicious eyes, leaned over the railing. "What in God's name?" he muttered, staring at me. His name was Bill. He hauled me onto his boat like I weighed nothing, wrapped me in wool blankets that smelled like fish and diesel, and radioed the Coast Guard. He kept asking what happened, but I was shaking too hard to answer. My body had gone into shock. I couldn't stop shivering. The Coast Guard helicopter arrived 45 minutes later. They airlifted me to the hospital, and that's when everything became a blur. Doctors, nurses, heated blankets, IV fluids. Someone telling me I was lucky to be alive. Someone else asking questions I couldn't answer yet. I woke up 12 hours later in a hospital bed. A Coast Guard officer was sitting in the chair beside me, and next to him was a detective. A woman, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. "Mrs. Patterson," she said, leaning forward. "I'm Detective Sarah Coleman. Can you tell me what happened to you?" I told her everything. The dinner, the yacht, Chloe's whispered words, the push. Derek and Chloe holding hands, their smiles, being left in the ocean. Detective Coleman wrote it all down, her expression neutral. When I finished, she exchanged a glance with the Coast Guard officer. "Mrs. Patterson," she said carefully, "the yacht was found at the marina this morning. Your husband reported you missing about an hour after you were brought here. He claims you went up on deck after dinner for some air, and when he went to check on you, you were gone. He says he searched the yacht, radioed for help, and came back to shore to report you missing to the authorities." "He's lying," I said. My voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. "I believe you," Detective Coleman said quietly. "But we have a problem. There are no witnesses. The yacht's security cameras were disabled. Your husband says they malfunctioned. It's your word against his, and your sister's. They tried to kill me. I know, and I'm going to do everything I can to prove it." She hesitated, then pulled out her phone and showed me something. Mrs. Patterson, did you know your husband filed a $2 million life insurance policy on you 3 weeks ago? Ice flooded my veins. No, he's listed as the sole beneficiary. And there's more. She swiped to another document. Your company's board of directors received your resignation letter this morning. Sent from your email at 6 a.m. Your husband is named as your successor as CEO, per a clause in your prenuptial agreement. I stared at the screen. My resignation. In my name. With my signature. Forged. They'd moved so fast. They'd planned everything. They're stealing my company, I whispered. They're trying to, Detective Coleman agreed. But you're alive. That changes things. The question is, how do we prove attempted murder when there's no evidence? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. Detective Coleman drove me home 2 days later. I'd been medically cleared, though I still felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Every muscle ached, my throat was raw. My skin was peeling from saltwater exposure, but I was alive, and that was more than Derek and Chloe had wanted. The drive to my estate took 40 minutes. I lived in a gated community on the coast, the kind of place where houses started at $3 million and went up from there. My house, technically our house, was a modern masterpiece of glass and steel that my father had built, 10,000 square feet overlooking the ocean. It had felt like a dream when Derek and I moved in after Dad died. Now it felt like a trap. As we pulled through the gates, I saw 3 cars in the driveway. Derek's black Mercedes, Chloe's red BMW, and a police cruiser. What's going on? I asked. Detective Coleman's jaw tightened. Stay calm. Let me handle this. We got out of the car, and Derek came striding out the front door. He looked perfect, as always. Expensive suit, artfully styled hair, concerned expression. Behind him came Chloe, wearing a flowy dress and a worried face. And behind them, 2 uniformed officers and a man in a suit I didn't recognize. Margot, Derek said, his voice dripping with false relief. Thank God. We've been so worried. I'm sure you have, I said flatly. The man in the suit stepped forward. Mrs. Patterson, I'm Richard Hayes, your husband's attorney. We need to discuss your condition. My condition is that I nearly drowned because my husband and sister tried to murder me. Margot, please, Chloe said, tears in her eyes. Actual tears. She was good. We know you're upset, but you need help. You've been through a trauma. The trauma of you pushing me off a yacht. Derek exchanged a glance with his lawyer. Detective, my wife is clearly not well. She's been making wild accusations, but the truth is we're worried about her mental state. She's been struggling since her father's death. Struggling how? Detective Coleman asked coolly. The lawyer pulled out a folder. We have documentation. Prescriptions for anti-anxiety medication and sleeping pills filled 2 months ago. Testimony from the household staff that Mrs. Patterson has been erratic, paranoid, drinking heavily. A suicide note found in her study yesterday. My blood ran cold. What? We found it this morning, Derek said softly. Margot, you wrote about feeling overwhelmed, about not wanting to go on. We were terrified when you disappeared. We thought you'd. I never wrote a suicide note. The handwriting matches, the lawyer said, showing me a piece of paper. And it did. It was my handwriting. Or a perfect forgery. Where did you find this? Detective Coleman demanded. In her study? In her desk drawer. The housekeeper discovered it while cleaning. Your housekeeper, who conveniently found evidence supporting your story, Detective Coleman said. My housekeeper, who's been with the family for 6 years and is concerned about her employer, Derek countered. I looked at the prescriptions he was holding up. The bottles were real. I recognized them. But I'd never taken those pills. Derek must have gotten them filled in my name, put them in our medicine cabinet to create a paper trail. This is insane, I said. I'm not suicidal. I don't have a drinking problem. They're lying. Margot, honey, Chloe said, reaching for me. I jerked away. She made her face crumple. Please, let us help you. You jumped off the yacht. Derek tried to stop you, but you were so upset, so out of control. You said you couldn't handle the pressure anymore. That's not what happened. You've been so angry since Dad died, Chloe continued, her voice breaking. So resentful that he left everything to you. You've been lashing out at everyone, at me, at Derek, even at your employees. None of that is true, but there was someone else stepping forward now. A woman in professional attire holding a tablet. Mrs. Patterson, I'm Dr. Angela Ross, a psychiatric evaluator. Your husband requested an emergency evaluation due to concerns about your mental health and safety. I don't need an evaluation. I need them arrested. Dr. Ross's expression was sympathetic but firm. I understand you're upset, but your husband has presented compelling evidence that you may be a danger to yourself. I need to ask you some questions. I looked at Detective Coleman. She gave a small nod. I understood. I needed to stay calm. If I lost my temper, if I seemed unstable, I'd be playing right into their hands. But then Derek lifted his sleeves, showing bruises on his forearms, dark purple marks that looked like fingerprints. She attacked me, he said quietly. 2 days before she disappeared. She was drunk, screaming that I was plotting against her, that everyone was trying to steal from her. I had to restrain her to keep her from hurting herself. That's when I knew we needed professional help. The bruises were real. He'd given them to himself. I knew it. But how could I prove it? I never touched him, I said, but my voice shook. Dr. Ross spent the next hour asking me questions. Where was I? What year was it? Did I have thoughts of harming myself? Did I hear voices? Did I have paranoid thoughts about people trying to hurt me? Every answer I gave sounded crazy in this context. Yes, I thought people were trying to hurt me, because they literally had tried to kill me. Yes, I was upset. Yes, I was having trouble sleeping, because I'd spent half the night clinging to a buoy in the ocean. But with Derek's fake evidence, with Chloe's performance, with the suicide note and the pills and the bruises, everything I said made me sound unhinged. I watched Dr. Ross's face as I talked, and I saw her expression shift from open to concerned to convinced. Mrs. Patterson, she said finally, I believe you need observation and care. You've experienced significant trauma, and combined with your existing mental health concerns, I think you'd benefit from a supervised environment where you can rest and receive treatment. I'm not going to a psychiatric hospital. Not a hospital, Derek said gently. Somewhere comfortable, somewhere you can heal. I've already made arrangements at Clearwater Ridge. It's a private facility in the mountains, very exclusive. Beautiful grounds, excellent care. Clearwater Ridge. I'd heard of it. A luxury mental health resort where wealthy families sent their difficult relatives. It was 3 hours away, isolated, and notoriously difficult to leave once you were admitted. I'm not going. Margot, Derek said, and his mask slipped just for a second. I saw the coldness underneath. The calculation. You don't have a choice. Detective Coleman stepped forward. Actually, unless she's a danger to herself or others, you can't force her. The evaluation suggests she is, Dr. Ross said reluctantly. I'm recommending a mandatory 72-hour hold for observation. You can't do this, I said, my voice rising. They tried to kill me. They pushed me off a yacht. They're stealing my company. Margot, please, Chloe sobbed. Listen to yourself. You sound paranoid. We love you. We just want you safe. Detective, I turned to Coleman, desperate. You said you believed me. I do, she said quietly. But my hands are tied right now. Without evidence, I can't arrest them. And if the medical professional is recommending treatment, she looked pained. I'll keep investigating. I promise. But right now, you need to go with them. I saw it then. The trap closing around me. They were going to lock me away in some facility, declare me incompetent, and take everything, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Derek smiled. A real smile this time. Small, triumphant. Let's get you packed, he said. You're going to love Clearwater Ridge. Clearwater Ridge looked exactly like the website photos. A sprawling estate in the mountains, all stone and timber and glass, surrounded by pine forests and manicured gardens. It looked like a luxury spa. It was anything but. Derek drove me there himself, with Chloe following in her car. The 3-hour drive was silent. I stared out the window, my mind racing, trying to find a way out. But every scenario ended the same way. I was trapped. When we arrived, a woman in a white coat greeted us at the entrance, Dr. Helena Vance. She was in her 50s, with silver hair pulled back in a severe bun and eyes like chips of ice. "Mrs. Patterson," she said, shaking my hand with a grip that was just a little too tight. "Welcome to Clearwater Ridge. We're going to take excellent care of you." "I'll bet," I thought. Derek handed over paperwork. He'd already signed everything, using the medical power of attorney clause in our marriage documents. I watched him talk to Dr. Vance in low tones, saw money change hands. Not literally, but I knew. He was paying her to keep me sedated, compliant, locked away. "Your room is ready," Dr. Vance said, gesturing to a staff member. "Tyler will show you to your suite." "Can I talk to my husband alone?" I asked. Dr. Vance glanced at Derek, who nodded. When we were alone in the elegant lobby, Derek's mask dropped completely. "Make this easy on yourself," he said quietly. "Stay here, take the medication, play along. The conservatorship hearing is in 2 weeks. After that, you won't have to worry about anything ever again. I'll handle everything." "You mean you'll take everything?" "I mean I'll take what should have been mine all along. Your father never liked me. Never thought I was good enough for his precious daughter. He made sure that prenup protected you. Made sure I'd get almost nothing if we divorced. But this way, I get it all. The company, the money, everything. And Chloe? What's she getting?" "Chloe?" He laughed. "Chloe gets whatever I decide to give her. She was useful, but let's be honest, she's not exactly a long-term investment." So he was planning to betray her too. Beautiful. "I'll fight you," I said. "No, you won't. Because in about an hour, Dr. Vance is going to give you medication that will make you very, very compliant. And in 2 weeks, a judge will declare you incompetent. And after that," he shrugged. "Accidents happen in facilities like this. Overdoses, patients who don't respond to treatment. It's very sad. He was going to kill me. Once the legal paperwork was in place, he was going to arrange an overdose and make it look like suicide. I saw it in his eyes. This wasn't just about the money anymore. I was a loose end, a problem to be eliminated. "I hate you," I whispered. "I know," he said, and kissed my forehead. "Goodbye, Margot." He left with Chloe, and I was alone with Tyler, a large orderly who led me to what they called my suite. It was nice enough. Big bedroom, private bathroom, sitting area with a view of the mountains. But the door locked from the outside, the windows didn't open, and there was a camera in the corner, watching everything. Dr. Vance arrived an hour later with a paper cup full of pills. "What are those?" I asked. "Medication to help you rest and stabilize. Anti-anxiety, mood stabilizers, something to help you sleep." "I don't want them." "Mrs. Patterson, you can take them voluntarily, or we can administer them by injection. Your choice." I looked at the pills, at her cold face, at the orderly standing behind her. I took the cup, put the pills in my mouth, and pretended to swallow. Dr. Vance watched me closely, so I opened my mouth, showed her it was empty. She left, and I spit the pills into my hand, flushed them down the toilet. That only worked for 2 days. On the 3rd day, they watched me drink water after taking the pills, made me open my mouth, checked under my tongue. I had to actually swallow them. Within an hour, the world went fuzzy. My thoughts slowed, my body felt heavy. I slept for 16 hours. When I woke up, there was someone sitting in my room, another patient, a woman with gray, streaked hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Don't try to talk yet," she said. "The medication takes a while to clear. I'm Harper." He blinked at her, confused. "I'm in the room next door," she continued. "I saw them bring you in. You're new. You still have fight in you. I can see it, but you need to be smart. This place, it's not what it seems." Over the next few hours, as the medication wore off, Harper told me her story. She was 53. Her husband had died 2 years ago, left her $20 million. His children from his first marriage, greedy and resentful, had convinced a doctor to declare her mentally unstable. They'd put her in Clearwater Ridge 8 months ago. She'd been trying to fight the conservatorship they'd filed, but it was almost impossible from inside these walls. Dr. Vance is in on it, Harper said. She takes money from families who want to lock their relatives away. She keeps detailed records showing we're unstable, delusional, dangerous. And she medicates us into compliance. Some people here have been declared incompetent. They'll never leave. How are you still clear-headed? I asked. She smiled. I've been pretending to take the pills for months. You hide them under your tongue, wait until they're gone, spit them out. Sometimes they catch you, and you have to take them for real. But most of the time, I stay alert. It's the only way to survive. She taught me tricks. How to palm pills, how to act sedated even when you're not, how to avoid the cameras when you need to. She became my lifeline. 3 weeks crawled by. Derek visited once with his lawyer. They brought papers for me to sign, terminating my role as CEO, granting Derek power of attorney over all my assets. I refused. The conservatorship hearing is in 2 weeks, his lawyer said. With or without your cooperation, the court will grant your husband control. Dr. Vance's records show you're deteriorating mentally. You've been violent, delusional, refusing treatment. The judge will have no choice. After they left, I sat in my room and cried. Harper found me there. I'm going to lose everything, I said. Not if we fight back, Harper said. But we need to get you out of here first. That night, I made a mistake. I tried to call my father's old business partner, Thomas, using a phone I found in the staff break room, but I got caught. Security dragged me back to my room, and Dr. Vance ordered a mandatory psychiatric hold. They strapped me to the bed, gave me an injection. The world went dark. When I woke up, I was alone. Harper was gone. Transferred to a different wing, they said. Punishment for helping me. And I was being watched constantly. No more chances to avoid medication. They injected me twice a day. I spent the next week in a fog, barely aware of my surroundings. But even through the haze, I heard something. Dr. Vance, talking on the phone in the hallway outside my room. She thought I was too sedated to understand, but I heard every word. Yes, Derek, the hearing is in 4 days. I'll testify that she's completely unstable, a danger to herself. The conservatorship will be granted, no question. A pause. And after that? Well, these things happen in facilities. Sometimes patients take too many pills. Sometimes they don't respond to treatment. It's very sad, but another pause. Yes, I understand. Once you have full control, we'll arrange it. Something quiet. Maybe she takes too many sleeping pills one night. An accidental overdose. Very common in cases like hers. My blood ran cold through the medication fog. They were planning to kill me. Once Derek had legal control, once the conservatorship was granted, Dr. Vance would arrange an accidental overdose, and it would look completely legitimate. Just another tragic case of a mentally ill woman who couldn't be saved. I heard Chloe's voice in the background on the phone. Make it look natural. I want to be free of her completely. So Chloe was in on the murder plan too. Of course she was. The door closed. Dr. Vance's footsteps faded down the hall, and I lay there in my bed, strapped down, medicated, helpless. 4 days. I had 4 days to do something. 4 days before the hearing. 4 days before they made it legal to kill me. But I couldn't move, could barely think. The medication had me in chains stronger than the straps on my wrists. I closed my eyes and prayed for a miracle. The miracle came in the form of Harper. She appeared in my room 2 nights later, somehow having escaped her own wing. She put a finger to her lips, warning me to be quiet, then quickly unbuckled the straps holding me down. "Can you walk?" she whispered. I tried to sit up. The room spun. I don't know. "You have to try. I heard what they're planning. We're getting you out of here tonight." She helped me to my feet. My legs felt like rubber, but I managed to stand. Harper handed me clothes. Real clothes, not the facility pajamas. I changed, my hands shaking. "How are we doing this?" I asked. "I'm going to fake a medical emergency during medication rounds." While the staff is distracted, you slip out through the service entrance. I've been studying the routine for months. There's a 10-minute window when that door is unlocked for the evening supply delivery. It's our only chance. Harper, if they catch us, they'll lock me up tighter, medicate me more. I know, but I can't watch them kill you. And maybe, if you get out, you can help get me out too. She pressed something into my hand. Cash. $200 in 20s, and a burner phone. I've been saving this for months, she said. Take it. Run. Don't look back. At 8:30, during evening medication rounds, Harper made her move. She started convulsing in the common area, foam at her mouth, eyes rolling back. She'd told me she'd taken theater classes in college. She'd understated her talent. It looked completely real. Staff rushed to her. Dr. Vance was called. Chaos erupted, and I slipped down the back hallway, heart pounding, trying to look like I was supposed to be there. The service entrance was at the end of the corridor, unlocked, just like Harper said. I pushed through it into the cool mountain night and ran. The facility was surrounded by forest. I crashed through trees, branches tearing at my skin, my bare feet bleeding on rocks and roots. Behind me, I heard alarms, shouting. They'd discovered I was gone. Searchlights swept the forest. I dove behind a fallen log, pressed myself into the dirt, and held my breath. The lights passed overhead. Voices called my name. Security guards, spreading out through the woods. I waited until they moved past, then ran in the opposite direction, down the mountain toward the distant lights of a town. It took 2 hours. 2 hours of stumbling through darkness, of hiding every time I heard engines or voices, of pushing through pain and exhaustion and the lingering fog of medication. But I made it. The town was small, maybe 3,000 people. Everything was closed except a gas station on the highway. I stumbled into the harsh fluorescent lights, my feet leaving bloody prints on the linoleum. The clerk, a teenager with wide eyes, stared at me. "Are you okay, ma'am?" "I need to use a phone," I said. "Please." He handed me his cell phone, hands shaking. I dialed the only number I'd memorized. Thomas Bradley, my father's old friend and business partner. He'd retired 5 years ago, moved upstate, but we'd stayed in touch. He answered on the third ring. "Thomas, it's Margot. I need help." I told him everything in rushed, desperate sentences. Where I was. What had happened. That Derek and Chloe were trying to kill me, that I'd escaped from the facility, that I had nowhere else to go. There was a long pause. Then, "I'm 4 hours away. Can you hide until I get there?" "I'll try." "Margot, listen to me. Your father told me once that if anything ever happened to him, I should watch out for you. He didn't trust Derek. He never told you because he didn't want to interfere in your marriage, but he had a bad feeling. I should have said something sooner. I'm so sorry." Tears burned my eyes. "Just please come." I gave the phone back to the clerk, thanked him, and went to hide behind the gas station. The kid brought me a blanket and a bottle of water. I could have kissed him. But then I saw the headlights. Security vehicles from Clearwater Ridge cruising slowly through town, looking for me. I pressed myself into the shadows, pulled the blanket over my head, and tried to become invisible. They circled twice, stopped at the gas station. I heard them questioning the clerk. He lied, bless him, said he hadn't seen anyone matching my description. They left, but I knew they'd be back. 3.5 hours later, Thomas's car pulled into the gas station, an old Volvo sedan, reliable and anonymous. I ran to it, and he leaned over to open the passenger door. He looked older than I remembered, his hair completely white now, deep lines in his face, but his eyes were sharp and kind. "Get in," he said. I dove into the car. He handed me a jacket, which I wrapped around myself, and then we were moving. Fast. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere safe. My hunting cabin, 2 hours from here. No one knows about it except my son, and he's overseas." We'd barely made it to the highway when I saw them. Headlights in the rearview mirror, coming up fast, Derek's Mercedes. "He found us," I said. Thomas pressed the accelerator. The old Volvo shuddered, but picked up speed. Behind us, Derek's car matched our pace, and then my phone buzzed. The burner phone Harper had given me. A text from an unknown number. "You can't run forever, Margot. I'll find you. And when I do, you're going back to Clearwater Ridge in a body bag. Derek." Thomas saw the text and his jaw tightened. "Hold on." He took a sharp turn onto a smaller road, then another, weaving through back roads he seemed to know by heart. Derek stayed with us for a while, but eventually, in the maze of mountain roads, we lost him. We drove for another hour in tense silence, constantly checking the mirrors. Finally, we turned onto an unmarked dirt road that led deep into the forest. The cabin appeared in the headlights, a small, weathered structure that looked like it hadn't been used in years. "It's not much," Thomas said, "but it's off the grid. No one will find you here." Inside, he started a fire while I collapsed into a chair. My body was shutting down from exhaustion and stress. Thomas made coffee, strong and black, and wrapped another blanket around my shoulders. "Now," he said, sitting across from me, "tell me everything." I did. Every detail. From the yacht, to the hospital, to the asylum. When I finished, his face was grim. "Derek filed a police report 2 hours ago," he said, showing me his phone. "Says you escaped from psychiatric care and you're a danger to yourself and others. There's an APB out for you. If any cop sees you, they'll take you back." "I can't go back there. They'll kill me." "I know. We need evidence. We need to prove what they did." He made some calls, old friends from his business days. A lawyer, a private investigator, people who owed him favors. But then his face went pale. He hung up and looked at me with something like fear. "Derek and Chloe just filed an emergency ex parte hearing. They're claiming you kidnapped me, that you're holding me hostage, that you've become violent and delusional. They got a judge to issue a warrant for your arrest, not just for violating the psychiatric hold, for kidnapping." I felt the walls closing in again. "I didn't kidnap you. I know that, but they have a judge convinced. And now every cop in 3 counties is looking for you, not to help you, but to arrest you." The burner phone rang. "Unknown number," I answered, and heard Chloe's voice. "You should have stayed at Clearwater Ridge, Margot. Now you're making this so much harder on yourself. Derek and I are going to get everything. Your company, your money, your house. And you? You're going to prison for kidnapping. Or maybe you'll resist arrest, and some trigger, happy cop will shoot you. Either way, you're finished." She hung up. I looked at Thomas. "What do I do?" "We fight back," he said quietly. "But we need to be smart, and we need evidence." The question was, how do you prove attempted murder when everyone thinks you're crazy, and the people who tried to kill you control everything? Thomas made more calls. He reached out to Patricia Irving, a lawyer he'd worked with years ago. She specialized in elder abuse and conservatorship cases, and she had a reputation for being a fighter. She agreed to meet us at the cabin the next morning. Patricia arrived at dawn, a woman in her 60s with steel, gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She reviewed everything I told her, taking notes on a legal pad. "This is bad," she said finally, "but it's not hopeless. The conservatorship hearing is in 3 days. If you appear in court, coherent and rational, you can fight it, but there's a problem." "The arrest warrant," I said. "Yes. If you show up, you'll be arrested immediately for kidnapping and violating the psychiatric hold. You'll be taken back to Clearwater Ridge or put in jail. Either way, Derek wins." "So what do I do?" "We need evidence. Something concrete that proves Derek and Chloe tried to kill you. Something that contradicts their narrative." Patricia had brought someone with her, a man in his 40s, fit and alert, with the bearing of someone who'd spent time in law enforcement. "This is Marcus Reed," she said. "Former FBI, now a private investigator. He's the best." Marcus shook my hand. "Mrs. Patterson, let's talk about what happened on that yacht." We went over every detail. The dinner, the push, the ocean, the rescue. Marcus listened carefully, asking questions. "The fisherman who rescued you," he said. "Bill. Do you know his last name?" "No." "The Coast Guard would have it in their report." Marcus made a call. 20 minutes later, he had the information. Bill Robertson operated a fishing boat out of Harbor Point Marina. Marcus drove down to find him that afternoon. When he came back, he had news. Bill remembers you. He also remembers something you might not. You were wearing an Apple Watch when he pulled you out of the water. I touched my wrist automatically. The watch. I'd forgotten about it. It was waterproof. I didn't even think about it. Where is it now? The hospital. They would have put it with my belongings. Marcus smiled. Apple Watches track a lot of data. Heart rate, GPS coordinates. Some models even record ambient sound if Siri is activated. If that watch was on you when they pushed you overboard. It recorded everything, I breathed. Marcus drove back down the mountain to the hospital. He used some old FBI credentials and a lot of charm to get into the patient belongings storage, and he found it. My Apple Watch, in a sealed bag with my other jewelry. He brought it back to the cabin. Thomas had a laptop. We connected the watch and started pulling data. The GPS coordinates showed exactly where I'd been at 8:15 that evening, 13 miles offshore. Nowhere near where Derek claimed I'd fallen overboard close to shore. The health app showed my heart rate. Normal during dinner. Then, at 8:17, a massive spike. 160 beats per minute. The spike of someone in terror. And then, the audio. The watch had been set to always listen for Siri commands. It had picked up snippets of sound before going underwater. We heard voices, distorted but audible. Chloe's voice. Say hello to the sharks. My scream. Derek's laugh. And Chloe again. Is she dead? Derek. She will be. Come on, let's go. I sat there, staring at the laptop, tears streaming down my face. We had it. We had proof. This is enough, Patricia said. This proves attempted murder. We take this to the police. Derek and Chloe go to prison. But then Marcus's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went dark. He hung up. Derek just filed an emergency ex parte hearing. He's claiming Margot is holding Thomas hostage, that she's armed and dangerous. He got a judge to issue a warrant. Police are actively searching for both of you. And... He hesitated. Derek's lawyer got a temporary gag order. Claims that Margot is planning to defame Derek with false allegations. And as her conservator, too, B, he has the right to protect his reputation. The judge granted it. If we release this evidence publicly, we'll be in contempt. That's insane, Thomas said. It's strategic, Patricia replied. Derek knows we have something. He's trying to block every avenue. We can't go to the press. We can't go to the police without Margot being arrested. And the conservatorship hearing is in 2 days. What if I surrender? I asked. Turn myself in at the courthouse. At least I'd be in court for the hearing. You'd be arrested on site for kidnapping, Marcus said. They'd take you into custody. You might not even make it to the hearing. And if you do, you'll be in handcuffs, looking like the violent fugitive Derek's painted you as. So we're trapped. Not yet, Patricia said. We need one more piece. Something that definitively proves Derek's intent. Right now, we have evidence you were thrown overboard. But Derek will claim it was an accident. That you jumped. That the audio is taken out of context. We need something that shows premeditation. Planning. We spent the rest of the day digging. Marcus pulled Derek's financial records, found the offshore accounts, the affair with Chloe that started 8 months ago, but none of it proved murder. Just greed and betrayal. Then, at midnight, my burner phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Margot? A woman's voice. Familiar but distant. Who is this? It's Harper, from Clearwater Ridge. They let me out. Well, they thought they did. I've been calling numbers I memorized, hoping one was yours. Harper, are you okay? I'm fine. But listen, after you escaped, I started paying attention, and I heard something. Dr. Vance and Derek talking in her office. I used a phone I stole from a staff member and recorded it. Margot, they explicitly discussed killing you. Derek said, once the conservatorship is in place, we arrange an accident. Maybe an overdose. Make it look natural. And Dr. Vance agreed, talked about dosages and timing. I have it on audio. My heart nearly stopped. Harper, can you send me that recording? I already did. Check your email. the one you gave me when we were in the facility. I opened the email on Thomas's laptop. There it was, an audio file. I played it. Derek's voice, clear as day. Once I have full control of her assets, we'll arrange an accident. Something that looks like suicide. An overdose would be cleanest. These things happen in facilities all the time. Dr. Vance, I can arrange that. 50,000? Derek, done. Just make sure it's after the conservatorship is finalized. I need legal cover. And Chloe's voice in the background, make it look natural. I want to be free of her completely. We had it. Proof of conspiracy to commit murder. Proof of intent. Proof that this was all planned. This is it, Marcus said. This is enough. But Patricia looked worried. The hearing is tomorrow at 10 a.m. If Margot doesn't show up, Derek wins by default. If she does show up, she's arrested. Either way, we're running out of time. Then I show up, I said. I show up, I get arrested, but I make sure this evidence gets to the judge. I don't care what happens to me. I just want them stopped. Thomas put a hand on my shoulder. Your father would be proud of you. We spent the rest of the night preparing. Patricia put together a legal brief. Marcus compiled all the evidence, and I practiced what I would say. At dawn, we drove to the courthouse. We called ahead, told Detective Coleman what we had, that I was surrendering voluntarily. She met us in the parking lot with 2 uniformed officers. Margot Patterson, she said formally, you're under arrest for kidnapping and violating a psychiatric hold. You have the right to remain silent. She read me my Miranda rights while handcuffing me. But as she did, she leaned close and whispered, I've been investigating. I believe you. Let's nail these bastards. They took me inside, and that's when I saw them. Derek and Chloe, standing with Derek's lawyer in the courthouse lobby. They looked confident, smug. Derek saw me in handcuffs and smiled. Hello, darling. Ready to let the grown-ups handle things? I smiled back. Actually, I brought you something. A gift. You're going to love it. His smile faltered, just for a second, but it was enough. The hearing was about to begin. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches mostly empty except for Derek, Chloe, their lawyers, and a few courthouse staff. The judge, an older woman named Judge Catherine Morrison, sat behind the bench reviewing papers. I sat at the defendant's table in handcuffs, Patricia beside me. Detective Coleman sat in the gallery, along with Marcus and Thomas. Derek and Chloe sat across the aisle, whispering with their lawyer. Derek looked relaxed, confident, like this was already over. Judge Morrison looked up. This is a hearing for emergency conservatorship of Margot Patterson, filed by her husband, Derek Patterson. Mr. Hayes, you may present your case. Derek's lawyer stood. Richard Hayes, expensive suit, practiced smile. Your Honor, my client's wife has experienced a severe mental breakdown following the death of her father 6 months ago. She has become paranoid, delusional, and dangerous to herself and others. We have extensive documentation from Dr. Helena Vance at Clearwater Ridge Psychiatric Facility, where Mrs. Patterson was receiving treatment until she escaped 3 days ago. He presented a thick file. Medical records showing I was violent, unstable, refusing medication. A psychiatric evaluation declaring me a danger. Testimony from the housekeeper about my erratic behavior. The forged suicide note. The prescription bottles. Photos of Derek's bruised arms. Mrs. Patterson has also demonstrated her instability by allegedly kidnapping Thomas Bradley and fleeing authorities. She is currently facing criminal charges. Given her mental state and the danger she poses, we request immediate conservatorship be granted to Mr. Patterson, allowing him to make medical and financial decisions on her behalf. Judge Morrison looked at me. Mrs. Patterson, you're represented by Patricia Irving? Patricia stood. Yes, Your Honor. And we have evidence that will show this entire conservatorship petition is based on fraud and attempted murder. The courtroom went silent. Hayes jumped up. Your Honor, these are exactly the kind of paranoid delusions we've been documenting. Mrs. Patterson has accused my client of outrageous crimes with no evidence. This is further proof she needs psychiatric intervention. We have evidence, Patricia said calmly. She held up a tablet. We have audio recordings, GPS data, financial records, and witness testimony, proving that Derek Patterson and Chloe Brennan conspired to murder Mrs. Patterson by pushing her off a yacht, and subsequently attempted to have her declared incompetent to steal her billion-dollar inheritance. Judge Morrison leaned forward. That's a serious allegation, Counselor. It's a provable allegation, Your Honor. May I present our evidence? The judge nodded. Proceed. Patricia played the Apple Watch audio first. The courtroom listened to Chloe's whispered, "Say hello to the sharks." My scream, Derek's laugh. She showed the GPS data proving I was 13 miles offshore, not close to shore like Derek claimed. She showed the health data proving my terror. Derek's lawyer objected, argued the audio was taken out of context, that the GPS was inaccurate. But his voice had lost its confidence. Then Patricia played Harper's recording. Derek and Dr. Vance, discussing how to kill me once the conservatorship was in place, talking about overdose dosages, agreeing on a price. The courtroom erupted. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. "Order!" Derek stood up, face red. "That recording is fake. It's been doctored." "Your Honor," Marcus spoke from the gallery, "I'm a former FBI agent with expertise in audio forensics. I can testify that recording is authentic. I can also testify that I have recovered financial records showing Mr. Patterson transferred $50,000 to Dr. Vance's offshore account 2 days ago, matching the amount discussed in the recording." Derek's lawyer was scrambling now. "Your Honor, even if the recording is real, it doesn't prove anything about the yacht incident. My client maintains that his wife jumped overboard in a suicide attempt." "Then explain the GPS coordinates," Patricia said. "Explain why she was 13 miles offshore when Mr. Patterson claimed they were close to shore. Explain why his timeline doesn't match the Coast Guard report. Explain the audio of Miss Brennan telling her to say hello to sharks before she fell." Chloe suddenly stood up. Her face was pale, makeup smeared with tears. "It wasn't my idea," she shouted. "It was Derek. He came to me. He said we could get rid of Margot and split everything. I didn't want to do it, but he threatened me. He said if I didn't help, he'd kill me too." Derek spun to face her. "Shut up, Chloe." "No, I'm not going to prison for you. You planned everything. The yacht trip, the forged documents, paying off the doctor, you used me." "You little..." Derek lunged for her. Deputies rushed forward, pulling them apart. Derek was screaming at Chloe, calling her every name imaginable. Chloe was screaming back, telling the court everything. How Derek had seduced her 8 months ago. How he'd convinced her that Margot didn't deserve the inheritance. How he'd planned every detail of the murder. How he'd promised her $10 million if she helped. They destroyed each other right there in court. Every secret, every lie, every piece of their conspiracy came spilling out in furious accusations. Judge Morrison banged her gavel repeatedly. "Order! Deputies, restrain them both." Derek and Chloe were handcuffed, still shouting. Detective Coleman stood and approached the bench. "Your Honor, I'm Detective Sarah Coleman. I've been investigating this case. Based on the evidence presented today and the admissions just made by both suspects, I'm placing Derek Patterson and Chloe Brennan under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and embezzlement." The judge nodded. "Granted. Remove them from my courtroom." As deputies dragged Derek and Chloe away, Derek locked eyes with me. His face was twisted with rage and hatred. "You should be dead," he hissed. "But I'm not," I said quietly. "And now you're going to pay for everything you did." Judge Morrison turned to me. "Mrs. Patterson, the conservatorship petition is denied. Furthermore, all charges against you for kidnapping and violating psychiatric care are dismissed. You're free to go." She looked at Patricia. "I'm also ordering an immediate investigation into Clearwater Ridge Psychiatric Facility and Dr. Helena Vance." Patricia smiled. "Thank you, Your Honor." The handcuffs came off my wrists. I stood there, rubbing the red marks, barely able to process that it was over. I'd won. Detective Coleman approached me. "Mrs. Patterson, I owe you an apology. I should have pushed harder to investigate from the beginning." "You believed me," I said. "That's what mattered." Thomas wrapped me in a hug. "Your father would be so proud." Harper appeared at the courtroom door, having waited outside. When she saw me free, she burst into tears. "You did it." "We did it," I corrected. "I couldn't have survived without you." The trial took 3 months. Derek and Chloe were both convicted on all counts. The evidence was overwhelming, especially after they'd confessed in open court. Derek got 30 years without parole. Chloe got 25, slightly reduced because she'd testified against Derek, though it hadn't helped her much in the end. Dr. Vance lost her medical license and faced her own criminal charges for conspiracy. Clearwater Ridge was shut down, and every patient there was released and given the option to file lawsuits. Harper was one of them. I paid for her legal team personally. Life started to return to normal, or as normal as it could be after everything. I stood in the lobby of my father's company, Data Shield Security, 3 months after the trial. The building felt different now, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. I'd returned as CEO the week after Derek and Chloe were convicted, and the board had welcomed me back with relief. Derek's brief tenure had been a disaster, and they were happy to have someone competent in charge again. My assistant approached with a schedule for the day. Meetings, calls, decisions to make, normal work things. It felt good. It felt real. I'd spent the past months in therapy. Real therapy this time, working through the trauma of what had happened. PTSD from the drowning, from the betrayal, from being held captive. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Sarah Lynn, told me that healing wasn't linear. Some days I'd feel strong and capable. Other days I'd have panic attacks if I saw the ocean or heard someone say my sister's name. But I was healing. Slowly, but genuinely. I'd changed everything about my life. New locks on all the doors, new security system. I'd fired the housekeeper who'd lied for Derek and hired a new staff, people Thomas recommended. People I could trust. Trust. That was the hardest thing to rebuild. Derek had shattered it completely. For months after, I'd questioned everyone's motives, wondered if people were only nice to me because of my money, suspected betrayal around every corner. But Thomas had helped. He visited every week, had dinner with me, talked about my father in the old days. He never pushed, never demanded, just showed up, consistently, until I started to believe that some people really were good. Harper became one of my closest friends. After she won her own legal battle against her stepchildren and reclaimed her inheritance, she moved closer to my area. We met for coffee twice a week. 2 women who'd survived attempts to bury us and came out stronger. I'd also tracked down Bill Robertson, the fisherman who'd saved my life. He was a gruff man who didn't like attention or thanks, but I showed up at his boat with a check for a new vessel and a lifetime dock fee paid in full. He'd tried to refuse at first, but I'd insisted. "You saved my life," I'd told him. "Let me do this." He'd accepted eventually, tears in his weathered eyes. I was just doing what anyone would do. "No," I'd said. "You did what a good person would do, and that's rare." I'd started dating again, cautiously. Nothing serious, just testing the waters. My therapist said it was healthy to try, even if it felt terrifying. The first few dates had been disasters, me jumping at shadows and seeing threats where there were none. But it got easier. I was learning to trust my judgment again. The company thrived under my renewed leadership. I'd implemented my father's vision, expanded into new markets, hired brilliant people. Data Shield was growing, innovating, making a real difference in cybersecurity. It felt like honoring Dad's legacy. 6 months after the trial, I did something I'd been putting off. I visited Derek and Chloe in prison. Separate visits, of course. They weren't allowed contact with each other. Derek, first. The prison visiting room was cold and sterile, separated by thick plexiglass. He looked different. Thinner, older, the expensive polish worn away. He picked up the phone and I picked up mine. "What do you want?" he asked. His voice was flat, defeated. I placed a folder on the counter in front of me. Photos of the company's success, articles about Data Shield's innovations, pictures of me at charity galas, at board meetings, living my life, thriving. "I wanted to give you a gift," I said. "The gift of knowing you failed completely. You tried to take everything from me. You tried to kill me, erase me, steal my life. And instead, you gave me clarity. You showed me who I really am. Someone who survives. Someone who fights. Someone who refuses to be broken. His jaw clenched. I've built something amazing, I continued. The company is worth more now than it ever was. I'm stronger now than I ever was. And you? You're going to spend the next 30 years in here, watching from behind bars as I live the life you wanted to steal. That's my gift to you. The knowledge that you failed, and I won. I hung up the phone and walked out. I didn't look back. Chloe's visit was shorter. She looked worse than Derek. Makeup, free, hair lank, eyes red from crying. She picked up the phone desperately. Margot, please. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. Derek manipulated me. I was weak and stupid and... Stop, I said. I placed a letter on the counter. I found this in Dad's things. He wrote it the year before he died. She leaned forward, squinting to read through the glass. It was a letter addressed to her. I'd discovered it in a box of Dad's personal effects, sealed in an envelope marked for Chloe if she ever asks. He wrote you out of the will because you stole from him, I said. Because you betrayed his trust. But this letter explains that he still loved you. He still hoped you'd change, that you'd become the person he believed you could be. He never stopped believing in you, Chloe. Neither did I. Tears streamed down her face. But you chose greed, I continued. You chose betrayal over family. You chose to help murder your own sister for money. And that's something you'll have to live with for the next 25 years. That's my gift to you, Chloe. Understanding what you threw away. Dad's love. My love. A family that would have supported you if you'd just been honest. She was sobbing now. Ugly, broken sobs. I stood up. Goodbye, Chloe. I left the prison and didn't go back. They were part of my past now, locked away, no longer able to hurt me. Life moved forward. I established a foundation in my father's name, providing resources for people escaping abusive relationships and fighting conservatorship abuse. Harper helped me run it. We'd already helped dozens of people. I donated money to improve psychiatric facility oversight, pushing for legislation that would prevent places like Clearwater Ridge from ever operating again. Dr. Vance's trial had exposed systemic problems, and I was determined to fix them. I even started a support group for people who'd survived betrayal by family members. It met every Tuesday in a community center downtown. Sometimes 5 people came, sometimes 20. We shared stories, offered support, reminded each other that survival was possible. One evening, a year after the trial, I found myself standing on a beach at sunset, the same beach near my house, overlooking the same ocean that had nearly killed me. I'd been avoiding it for months, too traumatized to face the water. But my therapist had encouraged me to reclaim the things that scared me, to take back the power Derek and Chloe had stolen. So I stood there, watching the waves. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The water looked beautiful, not threatening. The tide rolled in, washing over my bare feet. I used to be terrified of the ocean after that night. But standing there, feeling the water, I realized something. The ocean hadn't tried to kill me, Derek and Chloe had. The ocean was just water, neutral and indifferent. It was people who'd been cruel. I waded in deeper, up to my knees, then my waist. The water was cool, but not cold. The waves rocked me gently, and I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd reclaimed this too. The beach, the ocean, the sunset, all the things they'd tried to ruin. As I stood there, I thought about everything I'd learned. About survival, about strength, about trust. They'd tried to drown me, literally and figuratively. They'd tried to erase who I was, lock me away, declare me incompetent, and finally kill me. They'd thought I was weak, that I'd be easy to eliminate. But what they didn't understand is that water can't kill you if you refuse to give up. Every time I went under, I came back up. Every time they pushed me down, I fought harder. I learned that survival isn't about never falling. It's about always rising. I learned that family isn't just blood. Thomas proved that. Harper proved that. The people who showed up for me when my actual family tried to murder me, they were my real family. I learned that trust isn't something you give freely anymore. It has to be earned, slowly, through consistent action, and when it is earned, it's precious. And I learned that strength isn't something you're born with, it's something you discover when you have no other choice. When you're clinging to a buoy in the middle of the ocean, or locked in a psychiatric facility, or running through the woods in the dark, that's when you find out who you really are. I walked out of the water and sat on the sand, watching the last of the sunset. My phone buzzed. A text from Harper. Coffee tomorrow? I have news about the foundation. I smiled and texted back. Absolutely. Can't wait to hear it. Life wasn't perfect. I still had hard days. Days when the trauma caught up with me. Days when I had nightmares about drowning or woke up convinced I was back in Clearwater Ridge. But those days were getting fewer. And the good days were getting better. I'd built a new life. Not the life I'd planned, not the fairy tale I'd imagined when I married Derek, but something real, something earned, something mine. They tried to take everything from me, my life, my company, my freedom, my dignity. Instead, they gave me something more valuable. They gave me the knowledge of my own strength. They showed me I could survive anything. They proved I was unbreakable. I stood up, brushed the sand off my jeans, and walked back toward my car. The beach was beautiful in the fading light, peaceful and calm. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living, truly living. Free from their shadow, free from their control, free from their lies. They'd thought they could erase me. But I became unforgettable. Not because of the $1 billion, not because of the company, not because of my name or my father's legacy. Because I refused to let their betrayal define me. I defined myself. And that was worth more than any fortune they could have stolen. As I drove home, I thought about everyone who'd survived similar betrayals. People locked away by greedy family members. People gaslit by partners. People who'd lost everything and had to fight to reclaim their lives. I wanted them to know. You can survive this. You can fight back. You can win. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. There will be moments when you want to give up, when the fight seems impossible. But you're stronger than you know. And somewhere out there, there are people who will help you. You just have to hold on long enough to find them. I pulled into my driveway and sat for a moment, looking at my house. My home. My sanctuary. They'd tried to take it from me, but I took it back. Just like I took back everything else. I got out of the car and walked inside, locking the door behind me. Safe, free, alive, victorious. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone betray your trust completely? Someone you thought you knew, who turned out to be someone else entirely? How did you survive it? How did you rebuild? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. We're all fighting our own battles, and sometimes knowing someone else made it through helps us find the strength to keep going. And if my story helped you in any way, if it gave you hope or strength or just reminded you that survival is possible, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories like this. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone, that betrayal doesn't have to be the end of the story. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter how impossible it seems, you have the strength to rise. You just have to refuse to stay down. Stay strong, stay safe, and never let anyone convince you that you're less than you are. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You're worth fighting for.